Remember bell bottoms
Yeah.
and the Bee Gees, disco balls, the bicentennial.
Ah, the
Well,
70s.
tucked in between all those icons was something else. The first Earth Day,
Mm.
picture this, 20 million Americans,
Wow.
10% of the entire U.S. population back then, hitting the streets,
Huh.
demanding a cleaner planet.
It's amazing how much has changed.
Today, we're going on a deep dive into how this massive movement came to be, using excerpts from NPR's Throughline podcast episode, The Rot, Made for TV, Inch by Inch.
I love that title. The Rot, Made for TV, Inch by Inch.
Yeah.
What a great way to frame it.
Yeah, and it really sets the scene
Hmm.
with vivid descriptions of what life was like back then.
Right?
Think about it. Rivers so polluted they actually caught fire multiple times.
Yeah, the Cuyahoga River in Ohio
Yeah,
became infamous for that.
Yeah.
It's a powerful image.
really highlights the stark contrast between then and now.
Yeah.
Back in the 50s and 60s, pollution wasn't some abstract threat.
No?
It was part of daily life.
Absolutely.
The interviewees in the episode talk about the smell
Oh, yeah.
of sulfur dioxide
Yeah.
and hydrogen sulfide from factories.
Uh-huh.
They even called it the smell of prosperity.
Right.
Hard to believe now.
Right. I mean, it's a reminder of how much our perceptions have shifted. Back then, challenging those industries felt like risking your livelihood. People accepted pollution as the inevitable price of progress.
Right. But something was starting to change,
Mm.
like a crack in the concrete. You had events like the Santa Barbara oil spill in '69,
Mm-hmm.
images of oil-soaked birds plastered across newspapers and TVs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then there was Rachel Carson's groundbreaking book, Silent Spring.
Of course.
Published in '62, it exposed the dangers of pesticides and really brought environmental concerns into the mainstream conversation.
These events started chipping away at the status quo,
Mm.
setting the stage for the birth of Earth Day. At the heart of this story is Senator Gaylord Nelson
Mm-hmm.
from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
He was a passionate environmentalist,
A visionary.
but he knew he couldn't do it alone.
Right. He needed someone to really make it happen.
He had this vision for environmental teach-ins on college campuses,
Uh-huh.
but he needed someone with the energy and drive to turn that vision into a reality.
Right. Someone who could connect with the younger generation.
Enter Dennis Hayes,
Oh, yeah. That is his.
a young activist who actually dropped out of Harvard to take on the challenge.
Talk about commitment.
Yeah. What's striking is that Hayes wasn't even focused on environmentalism at the time.
Oh, really?
He was deeply involved in the anti-war movement.
Oh, wow. Interesting. So how did he get involved with Earth Day?
The Throughline episode highlights how Hayes had sort of an epiphany
Hmm.
while traveling the world.
Oh.
He realized the environment was a cause he could truly dedicate his life to, and he brought that fire to Earth Day.
That's amazing. So Nelson provided the spark
Right.
and Hayes fanned the flames, but they faced a monumental task.
Huge, huge.
They had just a few months to organize a nationwide event, and this was long before the internet and social media.
Yeah, think about that.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, trying to coordinate something on that scale with just phones
Yeah.
and snail mail.
Snail mail. It's incredible.
Right. But instead of trying to control everything from Washington, D.C., they decided to empower local communities.
That's smart. A grassroots approach.
They had this brilliant grassroots approach. They believed that Earth Day should reflect the diverse concerns of people across the country,
Yeah.
not just a top-down agenda.
That's a key insight. It wasn't about dictating solutions.
Right.
It was about giving people the tools and resources to make it their own.
Yeah.
It was truly a decentralized movement.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it was without its challenges.
Of course, there were always going to be challenges. What were some of the biggest hurdles they faced?
That's where things get even more interesting. They had great success mobilizing white middle-class communities,
Huh.
but reaching out to communities of color proved much more difficult.
Yeah. The Throughline episode really dives into this. Many marginalized communities were understandably focused on more immediate concerns, like poverty, racism, and social justice. They felt that environmental issues were secondary to these very real and pressing problems.
It made sense, right? If you're struggling to put food on the table
Yeah,
or facing discrimination,
right.
saving the planet might not feel like a top priority.
Exactly. But there were also activists who saw clear connections between environmental and social justice issues.
Yeah.
One of the most compelling voices in the episode is Arturo Sandoval,
Mm-hmm.
a Chicano activist who ended up playing a crucial role in shaping the movement, especially in the Southwest.
Yeah, he was initially hesitant to get involved, right?
Absolutely. Sandoval was deeply involved in the Chicano civil rights movement
Uh-huh.
and didn't see how environmentalism fit into that fight. But after talking with the Earth Day organizers, he realized they shared many of the same values.
So how does Sandoval bridge that gap between environmentalism and the Chicano movement?
Well, he became the Western Regional Coordinator for Earth Day,
Hmm.
and he worked tirelessly to make sure the concerns of Chicano and other minority communities were front and center.
Yeah.
One of his most impactful actions was organizing a distinctly Chicano Earth Day march in Albuquerque.
I can just imagine it. Mariachi bands, traditional costumes, a vibrant celebration of culture
Right.
intertwined with a call for environmental justice.
Exactly. Sandoval was a master at understanding the power of visuals and symbolism. He knew that to capture the attention of the media and the nation, he had to showcase the diversity of the movement.
Okay, so we've got this incredible groundswell of support building, this fusion of grassroots activism and savvy media strategy. But what about the day itself? Did the first Earth Day live up to all the hype?
It blew it out of the water. An estimated 20 million people participated. That's more people than voted in the presidential election that year.
Wow, that's mind-boggling. What kinds of events were happening across the country?
Well, remember, this was all locally organized, so there was incredible variety. Rallies and marches in some places, teach-ins and workshops in others. People were cleaning up parks, planting trees. It was a true nationwide outpouring of environmental activism.
And the media was there to capture it all.
Absolutely. The organizers had learned from the civil rights movement and other movements of the 60s about the power of media. They made sure there were compelling visuals and sound bites for the news cameras.
So images of everyday Americans cleaning up rivers, planting trees, demanding change were beamed into living rooms across the country.
It was a turning point. Earth Day wasn't just a protest. It was a media event that helped solidify the environmental movement's place in the national consciousness.
Okay, so we've talked about this incredible mobilization.
Yeah.
But did it actually translate into real political change?
No, it absolutely did. The impact was almost immediate. The
Yeah.
sheer number of people who participated sent a clear message to politicians that the environment was an issue they could no longer ignore.
So Earth Day wasn't just a feel-good event.
Yeah.
It had real political teeth.
Absolutely. The momentum from Earth Day helped pave the way for some of the most significant environmental legislation in U.S. history.
Like what? Give us some examples.
Well, one of the biggest was the Clean Air Act of 1970. It set national air quality standards and placed limits on emissions from factories and vehicles. It was a huge step forward in addressing air pollution.
And this was just a few months after the first Earth Day. That's incredible how quickly things moved.
Then, just a few months later, President Nixon, not exactly known for his environmentalism, signed an executive order creating the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA.
So even though Nixon wasn't personally passionate about the environment, he recognized the political power of the movement.
He saw the writing on the wall, public pressure was mounting, and the EPA quickly became a major force in enforcing environmental regulations and protecting public health.
So we're talking about the Clean Air Act, the EPA. Any other big wins for the environmental movement during this time?
Oh, there were quite a few. The Clean Water Act,
Yeah.
the Endangered Species Act,
Mm-hmm.
the Safe Drinking Water Act, all passed in the years following Earth Day. It seemed like the environmental movement was on a roll.
But it wasn't all smooth sailing, was it? I imagine there was some pushback against these new regulations.
You're right. Industries that felt threatened by these new rules started pushing back, and that pushback gained even more momentum with the election of Ronald Reagan in 1980.
Ah, yes, Reagan. A very different political climate.
Indeed. Reagan championed deregulation and saw many environmental protections as obstacles to economic growth. He appointed officials to the EPA who were more sympathetic to industry concerns.
So the pendulum swung back in the other direction.
Mhm.
What did the environmental movement do to adapt to this new reality?
They had to get creative. One of their most effective campaigns during this time was called the Dirty Dozen.
Dirty Dozen, I love that name.
It definitely grabs your attention. They targeted 12 members of Congress who had particularly bad environmental voting records.
What a smart tactic. Putting a face on the opposition, so to speak.
Exactly. And it worked. They were incredibly effective at using media and public pressure to hold those politicians accountable.
So even though the political landscape had shifted, the environmental movement found ways to remain influential.
They had to. The stakes were just too high. And their ability to adapt and evolve is a testament to their commitment and resilience.
Okay, so we've talked about the immediate impact of Earth Day and then the pushback during the Reagan years. But where does that leave us today? What's the lasting legacy of Earth Day?
That's where things get even more complex and nuanced. Earth Day is now a global phenomena, celebrated by millions of people each year, but there are also new challenges and critiques to consider.
So Earth Day went global.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty impressive. But you said there are also some criticisms of the movement today.
Yeah, one of the biggest critiques is that it's become too elitist, too focused on the concerns of white middle-class environmentalists.
That echoes some of the challenges they faced back in the early days, right?
Yeah.
Struggling to connect with communities of color
Right.
and working class folks who had more immediate concerns.
Exactly, and it's a critique that persists today. There's a growing awareness that environmentalism needs to be more inclusive and address the needs of all communities, not just a select few.
Yeah. It needs to be more intersectional, recognizing that environmental justice, racial justice, economic justice are all interconnected.
Precisely. We have to move beyond this image of environmentalism as just about saving whales and hugging trees. It's about ensuring a healthy planet for everyone, regardless of race, class, or zip code.
So how do we do that? How do we make the environmental movement more inclusive and address these systemic issues?
Well, it's a complex challenge, but I think there are a few key things we need to do. First, we need to listen to and amplify the voices of those who are most impacted by environmental degradation. Communities of color, low-income communities, indigenous communities, they are often on the front lines of environmental injustice, and they have valuable insights and solutions to offer.
So it's about centering those voices instead of speaking for them.
Right. And it's about recognizing that environmental issues are not separate from social and economic issues, like, for example, pollution in low-income communities. That's not just an environmental problem, it's a public health problem, an economic problem, a racial justice problem.
Yeah. So we need to address these issues in a holistic way, recognizing the interconnectedness of it all.
Exactly. And we need to make sure that solutions to environmental problems benefit everyone, not just a select few.
That brings to mind the Green New Deal,
Mm-hmm.
which aims to address climate change and economic inequality simultaneously.
Yeah, the Green New Deal is a perfect example of this kind of thinking. It recognizes that we can't address climate change without also addressing issues like job creation, affordable housing, access to health care.
It's about creating a more just and equitable society, not just a greener one.
Precisely. And I think that's where the real hope lies for the future of the environmental movement. It's about building bridges, forging alliances, creating a movement that is truly representative of all people.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Earth Day, its legacy, and the future of the environmental movement, what's the key takeaway for our listeners?
I think the first Earth Day showed us the incredible power of collective action. Millions of people came together to demand a cleaner, healthier planet. And they sparked a movement that led to real change. We need that same spirit of collective action today to tackle the even more complex environmental challenges we face.
And it's not just about big marches and protests, right?
No.
It's about the everyday actions we take, the choices we make, the conversations we have, recognizing we all have a role to play in creating a more sustainable and just future.
Absolutely. And remembering that hope is not passive, hope is an active choice. A commitment to doing the work, even when it feels daunting, because the stakes are too high to give up now.
This has been such an insightful conversation. Thank you for sharing your expertise with us and helping us understand the complexities of this movement.
It's been my pleasure.
And for our listeners, we encourage you to continue exploring these ideas. We'll be sure to include links to the full Throughline episode and other resources in the show notes.
Yeah, remember, the fight for a healthy planet is an ongoing one, but it's a fight worth having. What will your contribution be?
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.